no one here, including me, ever expected to hear me say, I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for president of the United States.
Lindsey Graham was asked about being the first single president.
Yeah, never married, no
and
kids.
he goes, there might be a bunch of different first ladies if I was in there.
Right.
Like,
yeah, sure, buddy. First of all, that's the last thing you say if you're a man and you're heterosexual. You say, I'm trying to find a good woman.
Yeah, really.
I'm trying to just find one good woman that I can grow with and that I love with all my heart. Just one good woman. I know that she's out there. That's what you say.
Yeah, you don't.
Might be a bunch of first ladies. I'm going to get divorced and married and divorced and married and keep on scooping up them minerals in the Ukraine. I got to give those minerals to the Russians. We're just walking around with women's panties on and shit and high heels. I'm the president.
I mean, listen,
I'm the first lady, too. I'm going to wear her clothes.
I think Lindsey Graham is a disgrace, and I think you have one of the worst representatives of any representative in the United States. The guy is a nut job. I don't want his endorsement. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't think he could run for dog catcher in this state and win again. This guy, Lindsey Graham, you have a guy, he's one of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen. In my opinion, I think he's disgraced. I don't want anything to do with him. You have one of the worst representatives of any representative in the United States.
Paid for and authorized by Lynch for Senate.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, 1 o'clock. I'm Ann Vandersteel, and today we're going straight into one of the most important Senate primary battles in America. South Carolina voters have a decision to make on June 9th. Do they want more of the same from Washington, D.C., that district of corruption? Or do they want a man who has built a business, created jobs, lived his faith, served his community, and now says he's ready to take that fight to the United States Senate? Well, my guest today is Mark Lynch, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. Mark is running to primary that lady Lindsey Graham, a senator from, well, as many America First voters believe, has been in Washington far too long, voted the wrong way too many times, and placed global interests ahead of the people he was elected to represent. Mark Lynch's story isn't political. It's not a political consultant story, that's for sure. It's a South Carolina story. He grew Jeff Lynch's Appliance Center from a family business into a major South Carolina employer. His campaign says he helped grow that business more than 35-fold since 1983, creating 110 South Carolina jobs. He's been debt-free personally and corporately since 1999. He's worked in every part of the business and has spent decades helping men overcome addiction and find freedom through Christ. His platform is direct: America first, end corruption, secure the border, restore election integrity, defend the Second Amendment, protect life, bring back fiscal discipline, stop these endless foreign wars, and put American workers, veterans, families, farmers, and manufacturers first. And according to polling highlighted by his campaign, this race may be far more competitive than the establishment wants you to believe. A March poll cited on Lynch's website had Lindsey Graham at 41%, Mark Lynch at 21%. But guess what? The undecided are picking up the pace, and Paul Dans has stepped out of the race and endorsed Mark Lynch. And on an informed ballot, that same polling memo shows that Lynch moving ahead of Graham, 34-23. So today, we're going to ask the question South Carolina voters deserve to hear and get them answered. Why is Mark Lynch running? Why is Lindsey Graham running? Well, I think we can answer that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Why have any of these scoundrels been in there for so long? But what does Mark Lynch believe Graham has failed to do? What's the true state of the campaign? We're going to get to all of that and a lot more. Mark Lynch, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Steel News Live. It's a pleasure, as always, to see you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. It's awesome to see you, too. Thank you for what you're doing for this great country.
Well, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there. But, you know, Mark, you could actually be enjoying the fruit of decades of your business success, right? You even ran a golf tournament this past weekend over Memorial Day. Why do you want to even step into one of the dirtiest arenas in America, the United States Senate political theater?
Yeah, I do it for the future of all of our grandchildren. You know, we can't leave the debt that we've increased to $39 trillion, and we're going to lose our country, not with a generation, probably with a vote. 1 or 2 votes, we're that close for losing this country. And it's time to fight back and prepare the country for our grandchildren and remove a traitor in Congress and Lindsey Graham. I've been asked to run because of my knowledge of the deep state. I'm endorsed by General Mike Flynn, working in the national security space with John Guandolo and helping stop the Islamic infiltration in America and training our police and FBI and SLED agents. And people have seen the fruit in my life with our kids and our business and being debt-free and being an ordained deacon in our church. And we're making headway because of Lindsey's really attacking me right now and making up all kind of lies. And I want to address that. And one thing, though, he said is true. You know, I had a problem with addiction in my younger years, 42 years ago, and we addressed that from day one on our Lynch for Senate website. Well, they've brought all that out, you know, that I was a cocaine felon and I was a habitual offender with 3 DUIs, and that's 100% true. God used that, and he brought me to the end of myself when I was making the wrong decisions. Jesus wasn't Lord of my life at that time. After I got saved at 11, I started hanging out with the wrong people and started getting into a lot of trouble in my college years. And I was $53,000 in debt. My fiance I was engaged to left for good for the second time. I broke my sternum bone in half in a horrible car crash. And I was sitting there looking at all that and saying, this has got to change. I have a problem, and it's me. And I called out to God and asked for help and went to a treatment center and started working the steps of a 12-step recovery program. Got clean and sober. I'll celebrate 41 years this August. I believe I'll make it. It's one day at a time. And I met my wife, Sarah, of 38 years in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And God's used us to free thousands of men and women from the lies of addiction into freedom in Christ. And I appreciate Lindsey bringing that up because it's a powerful ministry. Every family has a family member somewhere struggling in addiction.
Sure have.
You know,
Sure.
Yeah. And so don't ever give up on your family. Pray for them. Don't enable them. My parents had cut me off years ago. They didn't pay for anything. One of the biggest pressures I had was the financial pressure of paying for attorneys and fighting and paying for wrecked cars and all the stuff it caused me. And I finally got sick and tired of it. And I went and got help. And I was freed from that. And I've been able to help others in the same struggles. And so what a blessing that's been all these years.
So, and that's a fantastic testimony. It goes to show you that you can do it without state intervention, without big government. It can be handled by family, faith, and community. I want to draw us back to, though, this, Lindsey Graham, because he has been the bane of existence, frankly, in Senate for many of us who have just been horrified at the direction our country is going. So tell me about the specific moment where you said, I know people drafted you, but you finally submitted to the fact that you have to run against Lindsey Graham. What went through your head at that point?
My wife and I had prayed about it, and we had a third conversation with our consultant, and he said, I want you to hear me. You're not a guy that should run for governor or whatever. Your race is the United States Senate. We need a fighter, and we need to remove a traitor in Lindsey Graham, and I want you to consider that. I didn't want to fly to Washington every week, but we thought about it. It's a direct flight, an hour and a half. And I love having that quiet time on a plane where I can think and pray and get thoughts together down on paper. And I said, you know what? We're going to do it. My wife was like, let's do it. We're called to do it. It's time to give back. We've done mission work all over the world in Liberia and Haiti and Central African Republic and Bogota, Colombia. We feel like the next mission field is the swamp in D.C. And we're all about bringing God back first. That's what this country was founded on, and we've got to get back to him, and we'll do that.
So where do you think Graham has failed South Carolinians the most? What is it he has on his horizon right now that is really going to set up South Carolina for more pain points?
Well, I mean, he's failing us everywhere. I mean, he's attacking Social Security again. This is like the third time in his career. He's focused on taking away our Social Security for our senior citizens. He wants to move the age up to 70, and that's the normal lifetime expectancy. So some people will never even receive a penny after they've paid in all their life. And then he wants to reduce the payout amounts. Why are we continuing to put up with somebody that everything he does, everything he votes for is a negative, horrible thing to do? I don't understand it. I've asked Republicans in our 15 months of campaigning since we filed back in February of 25, if you claim to be a Republican and you could dare vote for Lindsey Graham again, who has a 43% lifetime conservative voting record and a 57% constitutional voting record. He's not holding to his oath he swore on when he put his hand on the Bible and swore to defend the United States Constitution. And he's funding enemies of our country. You know, we're all paying. In the last quarter of 25, he allocated $5.67 billion to fund illegal aliens in this country. And also in the first quarter of 26, we don't even have that money, Ann.
No, we
don't. But if we're going to write checks out of thin air, let's help our veterans or something. Let's do something that's for America first, not for people that aren't even citizens of this country.
Correct.
And Breitbart news organization produced the article we've been telling people about for months, and it's out for everybody to see. We're through USAID, and Trump finally closed that in 25. But from 2007 to 2024, Lindsey funded $122 million through USAID to NGOs working directly with Hamas and Al-Qaeda. So who is this guy? He's not America first. He's for destroying America and his voting record and what he does with our tax dollars. He's failing us.
Correct.
It's horrible.
Correct.
How long are we going to put up with this?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Because Lindsey Graham really has strong name ID and he's got the establishment protection. What are voters telling you, Mark, privately that they may not be saying publicly with respect to Lindsey Graham and what they hear on the street?
I mean, all the voters, and back it proves the polling we did back in March a year ago, that 57% of the South Carolinians said we will never vote for Lindsey Graham again. He's been in there way too long, and they've seen the patterns. And with Trump's endorsement, they're scratching their head. How could the president endorse him, a traitor, and a guy that stabbed President Trump in the back thousands of times, right? We could talk for hours on this. And all we can answer is it's just a lean Senate majority, and he's using Lindsey one more time to make sure he has enough votes. And that's all that we can count on. But South Carolinians have said that endorsement won't save Lindsey Graham this time. We all have to live with what we get in our state. And Trump's made some bad endorsements in the past in South Carolina, and he's making another bad one. And we all have the right to vote the way we want to. So he's leaving.
100%. I mean, President Trump, we all elected him. I mean, I voted for him. You voted for him. We voted to elect him to do the work that he said he was going to do, that we wanted him to do. And you're right. Some of these endorsements are absolutely horrific, including the one here in Florida with Byron Donalds. I mean, he's an absolute criminal, bank fraud Byron, as we say. And he's, frankly, he was somebody who spoke out against the president, like Lindsey Graham has done, like President Trump has done against Lindsey Graham. So I hear your point. He's using him one more time, maybe to get the swamp to move a certain way. But it would be a welcome change to have someone like yourself in there, because your campaign ad has hit Graham on foreign aid, his interventionist policies, visa programs, that massive omnibus spending, some of the debt ceiling votes he's done, immigration and gun rights. If you were to look at all of those, which of those failures is resonating most with the voters of South Carolina?
You know, all of it. I can't really pick one that everybody resonates on. They're talking about every one of them. They're seeing how he's lying and he's a traitor and he's voting against everything that's good for America. And he's fighting Trump right now on the Iran war. He wants to keep the war going. Everybody knows him. They know he's a warmonger. That's one of the biggest names they call him by. And Gramnesty, you know, and people are tired of what just happened to Sarah Beckstrom with his Afghan Adjustment Act, letting 180,000 Afghan refugees come into America. And one of the refugees drove from Washington to Washington, D.C., across the country, and shot 2 of our National Guardsmen and killed Sarah Beckstrom. So his Gramnesty stuff and his past with the Gang of Eight and all the amnesty bills he's been for. How do we let people, would you let people come into your home tonight, 100 people come to your house and just grant them amnesty? Hey, y'all can all live here. We're all family. And you don't know anything about them.
No.
Me either. Who would do that?
No. They talk a good game, Mark, you know, Pelosi and all that, but they all live behind walls and bars and, you know, and barbed wire, that nobody just walks up and knocks on any of these people's doors. It just, they don't live like that. What they say and what they do are a completely different thing. Paul Dans was also in the race at some point in the primary. He dropped out. He has subsequently endorsed you. Are the Dans voters consolidating behind you?
Yes. And Paul's been gracious and what a team player. He says, you know, I'm still focused on the main thing. When I filed to run, and now that I've taken my name off the ballot and I'm supporting you, Senator Lynch, and we're going to help you get across the line. And my main goal is to remove Lindsey Graham. And he calls him a childless warmonger because that's what he is. You know, South Carolinians have been wondering, where has he been? He hadn't been in South Carolina. He's in Israel all the time or in the Ukraine. But he finally said a few weeks ago, I'm coming back to South Carolina to bring your sons and daughters over here to the Middle East to fight. And you know what? South Carolinians are telling him, no, you're not. We're tired of that. You don't even have kids. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the child, I've got some photos I'll put up here in a second of him, the childless Lindsey Graham. There's that famous one, I believe you tweeted it out, of him at Disney World walking around. It was a very frightening picture. It didn't even look like somebody who was of sound mind, to be honest. But I want to take it back to the Paul Dans thing. I know that Paul is backing you now that he's, you know, stepped aside. But what are you all doing in your campaign to unite that sort of anti-Graham vote before the June 9th primary, which we need every South Carolina to get out and vote June 9th for you, Mark Lynch, so that you can finally rid South Carolina of the scourge of the Senate, which is really Lindsey. So how are you going to get that anti-Graham vote? How are you reaching those voters?
Well, we're still campaigning all over the state. We have TV commercials going everywhere on social and digital, Facebook and Twitter. You know, we're pushing out our direct mail pieces. The wife letter, my wife's letter went out, and they're arriving in the homes at the end of last week and this week. We got ours at our home today. And so a major push here in the last 2 weeks has been launched. And we're attacking with everything we have, and making sure we answer all the questions and make sure we continue to talk about the truth about who Lindsey Graham is to the Republican voters that still are holding on to a belief that he's the right guy. How can he be that? You know, one of the biggest platforms I'm for is pro-life. I believe that a life begins at conception. And according to God's word in Psalm 139, God chose to create us, and we were formed intricately in our mother's womb. And we don't have the right to kill that baby in the name of health choices. And Lindsey's for murdering children in the womb up to 15 weeks. And he voted on a bill that put our tax dollars into bondage with Satan in a blood pact with Obamacare and Medicaid funding Planned Parenthood for the murder of children in the womb up until the moment before delivery. So in the 9th month, a mother on the table can decide, you know what, this is inconvenient, I can't do it, kill it. And in
Right.
9 states, that can happen. And, you know, our forefathers, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence and realized that we're endowed by our Creator with certain God-given unalienable rights, and the first right is the right to life. And Lindsey doesn't hold even to that. So he doesn't even get out of the chute with who he is, and he's shown us all in his traitorous ways and how he votes that he's willing to murder children. We've murdered 64 million in our country.
It's astonishing. It's astonishing. As I say, the Democrats and the woke keep aborting themselves out of the ability to elect their quote leaders versus us electing our public servants. So, you know, I guess there's, in a sick way, there's a positive way to look at it, I guess, if, in some way, because those types of people are erasing themselves off the planet. And if demons need to go, well, they need to go. The fact that they're
If
taking
America,
life is not acceptable. You know, it's just not.
I mean, think of it this way. If America was a business, like a company to go work for, to have a job for, would we all work with other employees that were doing all of these things, stealing against the company
No.
that we all work for? We're watching a guy steal. We're watching a guy help our competitor companies that work against us, that comes in when he wants to, that doesn't show up, doesn't care. He's arrogant and does whatever he wants to do and tells the boss what he's going to do. We would all we would all quit working for a company like that would dare employ a guy like that all these years and allow him to continue to work there.
That's
you
right.
know, if we have a person like that for a few weeks, our culture here protects itself. 3 or 4 or 5 executive people come into my office and say, Mark, this person is not an asset. When are we getting rid of them? You know, we've trained him. He doesn't come in. He's been written up 30 times. What are you doing? They would all leave eventually. If I don't care, why should they? And so we're all tired of that in South Carolina. And I'm asking South Carolinians again, hey, I'm willing to run, but you got to help me. You get to decide who is going to be your next U.S. Senator, not me. Y'all have to vote. Y'all have to call your friends and family and tell them to get out and vote for Mark Lynch. We need somebody that has faith, that trusts God, that really cares about South Carolinians.
That's right. Well, part of the platform that, you know, resonates with a lot of Americans is the fact that your platform is calling for securing the southern border, completing the wall, ending birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants, nationwide e-verify, and mass deportation of illegal immigrants who entered under these Biden regime era policies. You recently got the endorsement of Greg Bavino, which is fantastic.
Yes.
He was the former commander at large for the U.S. Border Patrol. And, you know, I just guess the question is, how has illegal immigration affected South Carolina specifically?
You know, our people, like when we talked to the young Republicans, we went to Clemson University months ago, and one of the young students there said, Mr. Lynch, I appreciate your stance on the border and mass deportations. He said, you know, I want you to hear what I'm going through. I'm an engineering student, and I graduate next year. And I'm going to be competing against children from other countries. Their countries paid for their tuition. These people will never assimilate into American culture. They'll take my job for half the pay. And I was born in this country. I'm a legal citizen. And these people are here on a work visa or H-1B or OP visa. And he said, will you stop that? I said, I sure will. America first means we're going to bring manufacturing back into America and hire Americans. You know, we did some studies like a few months ago, and that 9 out of 10 jobs here in America are being taken by foreign people that are not even really truly citizens in this country. Our kids don't have a future. They're concerned about how they'll ever afford a house or get a job competing against all this foreign immigration coming in here, illegal aliens amongst us. So our country's under siege.
It is under siege. It's under siege through various facets. You've previously called out H-1B and similar visa programs. Why is that issue so important for the American workers and students in South Carolina?
Because they can't get a job. They're competing against foreigners that haven't really earned the right to work in this country yet.
Fair enough. You said Washington
Yeah.
should live by the very same rule every family and business knows. Do not spend money you do not have. What is the spending that you would cut first as U.S. Senator out of South Carolina?
All. Definitely not. We can't spend money on needless, endless wars. If I get in the U.S. Senate, I'm employed by America. I stand with Israel. My Lord and Savior was the King of the Jews. But we're bankrupt. We're $39 trillion in debt. And I've read the book. Nobody's going to wipe Israel off the face of the map. So the first thing I would do is start bringing these men and women home from that war and never, ever looking to get back in war again. When we have terrorist cells all over America, we got to focus on our problems right here at home and save that money. But the first big event that will happen, and is when I replace Lindsey. That'll be a huge Doge event because millions of corrupt money will come to a halt. We won't be funding enemies of the country. We won't be going to wars we don't need to be involved in. We're not going to start granting amnesty and just push the paper across the desk to deal with that. And, with the Gang of Eight and about 3 other times, Lindsey's just granted mass amnesty to everybody, causing all this collateral damage. And we're all working hard, paying for all these perks that illegal aliens now have by just being allowed to be here with a swipe of a pen from Lindsey. And that'll stop.
So what do you say to people like, other Republicans who only complain about election integrity after they lose? What should we be doing now? What has Lindsey not been doing to facilitate clean elections in your state?
Well, we have open primaries here. He's not concerned about that. That's how he gets elected. We don't require party registration. So on the Republican primary day, like June 9th coming up, Democrats can cross over and help affect the results of our elections in a negative way. They vote for Lindsey because that's who he is. When we first filed, Breitbart called us and said, we don't know what you're doing, but we've never seen Lindsey move to the right this early, like a year and a half away of an election cycle. What are you doing? We showed them an article with Obama's campaign team with Paul Harstad, Obama's chief campaign pollster, talking to John Podesta, of all people.
Wow.
That we remember that name, don't we? And they all agreed Lindsey Graham will be the greatest ally to the Democrat Party we've ever had with the Obama campaign. And he's proven that. So why do we keep doing that? And again, all you people out there that are establishment GOP party people that have been in the party for 30 years, how can you say you're a true Republican if you would dare vote for a traitor like Lindsey Graham again?
I agree, but it seems that the GOP has shifted to the Rhino OP, I guess you'd call it Rhine OP, because it looks like we're seeing more and more of that flavor. And for whatever reason, it keeps coming through. I mean, Texas had a big win yesterday, Ken Paxton. That was absolutely massive to see him defeat John Cornyn. And I know President Trump vacillated on that, on whether or not he was going to get behind Cornyn or not. He took his time and he finally endorsed Paxton, which was refreshing. And I want to take it back a little bit to some of the foreign policy stuff, because Lindsey Graham is known nationally for his interventionist foreign policy. And you are talking about how you want to pull us out of these endless wars. So should we have any foreign aid? Should any foreign aid actually require a direct national interest test? Because I'm seeing here in the chat, this gentleman right here, where was it? This gentleman right here. Is Iran the most humiliating defeat in American military history? Evan Daniels is asking, and over on YouTube. I'd like your comment on that, on what because this is what some people are seeing versus what we see Lindsey Graham doing.
Yeah, foreign aid actually is unconstitutional. We're not supposed to be providing that.
Right.
We don't need to meddle in other countries' affairs.
Correct.
Again, if we have an attack on America, I'm all for our military, and I'm glad we're building back our standards. And Pete Hegseth and Trump has the respect of other countries. But Trump's a diplomat. He's trying to promote peace. Lindsey's promoting war every chance he gets. And the military-industrial complex of Boeing and Lockheed Martin are some of his biggest contributors. Back in 2020, I think they both donated over $40 million apiece to his campaign when he ran against Jamie Harrison in the general election. So again, it's not about killing everybody and drooling and just getting all excited every time you mention war like Lindsey gets. It's about peace talks, and it's about taking care of America first and making a constitutional decision, last-ditch effort, whether we should even go to war or not. What's in it for America? Why do we have to try to control everybody? So people are sick of it.
There are some people that have, presented themselves in the swamp that were anti-war. Several of them aren't there anymore or are on their way out. I want to talk about Washington partnerships, because when you get to the swamp, who do you plan to partner with, and on what projects, what committees?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm gonna have to have a little bit of time to feel that out and see who's really what they say they are, and
well, do you think there's any senators in DC that are actually fighting for America First policies?
Maybe Mike Lee and some of those guys.
Would you work with Mike Lee on constitutional limits and federal overreach, perhaps?
Sure.
What about Tommy Tuberville? Josh Hawley just disappointed everybody when he lowered the gavel the other day to prevent the president from making any recess appointments. But what about Tommy or Eric Schmidt or any of these so-called J.D. Vance style populists or House conservatives? Are there any that jump out that you can work with between the Senate and the House to try and get anything done that's meaningful?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to try to do, because I don't think it's going to happen until I get there, and Lindsey's sure in using his senatorial power, is to form a committee to vacate John Thune and remove him so that we can start getting to work again and get rid of the filibuster and don't have a reason to give the Democrats a threat where they say, hey, if we're going to do that, we'll filibuster and it's going to take 60 to get it done. We don't need to have that anymore. It's time to go to work, make decisions, and keep moving. We can't do that in our company and close our business for 45 days. We'd go bankrupt.
That's very true. So understanding when you leave and you go to DC, it's, sometimes people find themselves isolated up there. They get co-opted. How are you going to prevent yourself from being, one of the people that gets co-opted, isolated, and then, of course, should we say hogtied over into doing whatever the swamp wants them to do? Will it be through committee assignments that you want? Will it be through the bills that you want to introduce and co-sponsor? What is your plan to get there to protect yourself from the swamp trying to swallow you? Because we see it happen over and over and over.
Yeah. I'll take the same skills I've used all my life for 40 years in growing our business. We belong to a multi-billion-dollar buying group, and there's 3,000 members, and we're in the top 80 in the country of the brand builder division of the volume that we do. And when we have problems with a manufacturer or a problem internally with the buying group tactics or whatever we're doing, people won't talk about it. They're scared to talk. And mic runners, people holding the mic, will bring a mic over to me and say, Mr. Lynch, you're going to have to start the conversation. So a lot of people are followers. They just need a good leader who's willing to stand up first, say the hard stuff, which is not hard for me. I just represent truth. And we've got to start confronting things in the right way and be willing to talk about it. And sometimes those conversations happen in the hall or at the lunch or in the men's restroom, and they won't talk about anything until they're in private. I'll talk about it and people can rally behind me and I'll lead the charge and we'll start getting something done. I'll speak up and do my job when I get in the U.S. Senate and fight for American South Carolinians.
Okay, fair enough. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this policy on the balanced budget amendment, which is on your website. I want to get it up here so everybody can see it. You are very specific on your initiative here. We're calling out Lindsey Graham for repeatedly voting to raise the debt ceiling. And we all know he was behind a lot of these omnibus spending on and on and on, because all that U.S. aid and all these other things, these goodies and pork was buried in there for him and his buddies. You say that Washington should live by the same principle every American family has. What have you sketched out what a balanced budget amendment looks like? so that we can actually live in the spirit of the Constitution?
Well, it's probably would go back and be a zero-based budget. We have to go line by line and see what do we think we need to continue to spend money on and get rid of all these continuing resolutions that's allowing all this pork to just keep going. Nobody wants to talk about it again. We've got to attack each one and verify, is that even necessary or not, and end it and recreate the budget altogether. Lindsey's increased the budget in, like, I think 3 years, 4.2 trillion in that committee that he's oversees. And so that's not helping. It's time to stop. So we've got to get serious about that. America's ready for us to balance the budget and start reducing spending. Yes.
I absolutely think so. Mark, I want you to speak directly to the South Carolina voters right now. I want you to tell them why they should vote for you on June 9th and why this primary is so incredibly important that they show up, because, you know, come the general or the elections, I should say, in November, not the general, but the elections, the midterms in November, what you get in June, what you get in another week or two is going to be critical to what happens in November and whether or not we even maintain control of the House and Senate, or we just sort of give the whole kit and caboodle away. Because I think people are frustrated right now, and they don't understand what the Republican Party is doing. And so we've got to get the best Republican candidate forward. So why should they vote for you on June 9th?
Yes, great question. And I get the question all the time. We've heard all this before. Everybody says one thing and does another. Once they get there, what's going to be different about you? Well, first of all, you know, like, I would never say to the voter, I will always be perfect or whatever. Like when Peter told Jesus, I'll never deny you. My prayer would be, I don't want to deny you. Help me not deny you. So how do we do that? So I'm an ordained deacon and I have godly character. You have to have certain character qualifications to make it as an ordained deacon. I'll have men around me like I've had all my life that are my accountability brothers in Christ, strong Christian men that have the authority. I will ask them, will you do this? And if I start getting deceived, will you come into my office and pour ice water on me, hit me with a 2x4 and shake me and say, what are you doing? You know, so that's I'll authorize the ability to stay free from deception by doing that. I'll have men around me, and God will provide the staff when we replace Lindsey Graham's staff with a godly staff of men that are strong in the Word. And, you know, I can show that fruit in my life. I've been married 38 years. We have 2 wonderful children. They both know Jesus. Their spouses were prayed for. God brought the right spouses to them. The addiction issue in my gene pool in our family's been broken. God's faithful, and my kids are addiction free. That doesn't continue down the tree limb line of our family anymore. You know, I've proven that was a fight to get out of addiction. Not many people make it.
Sure.
I've made it 40 years so far without a relapse. It's been awesome. And God's used that strength in my faith and grown it. We've grown our family business from 5 people to 110. We're debt free since 1999. 35 times more business than we've ever done. It's been amazing. We have a culture here. Our family culture here under my leadership's been awesome. We have a chapel. We teach the Word of God twice a week, 2 pastors on staff. Because those are our most important assets, are our employees. And I'm commanded to share the gospel of Jesus. We'll have Bible studies in my staff in D.C.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and our culture, like my son's 3rd generation now, and he's going to do great. I don't believe in all the old things. You know, this is what you're always going to get. 3rd generation always fails. No, they don't. Not my 3rd generation. Cole's going to do awesome with his sister Stevie and her husband and my son's wife Ksenia and Alex. That they all work in the business, and they're awesome. And my son said, "What is our culture, Dad? We don't have a written family culture." And I said, well, if we could write it, this is what it is. We love Jesus, and we're the Navy SEALs of this industry. And because we work hard. That's right. And this business is owned by God. Anybody that interviews here knows that. This state Senate race is God's race. He's the manager of our campaign, and we come in the name of Jesus to take back what the enemy stole from us. and
That's
I'll
right.
fight for America. I love America. Our parents, my wife and me, our dads were in World War II. They were part of the greatest generation, and they are rolling over in their grave of what they're seeing going on here.
That's a
It's
fact.
horrible. And
Mark,
we've got to get back to what's truth.
that's exactly right. So, you've made an impassioned plea to conservatives to show up and put you on the ticket for the midterm election in November. What happens if these conservatives don't show up and they stay home? What are we left with?
We'll have the same thing again. We'll have a
Groundhog Day.
person who doesn't have quality to be in a high position in Congress running our country, who's betrayed South Carolinians, betrayed Americans, stabbed our president in the back, currently fighting with him about Iran, trying to get us in war with Cuba next, and he's making money doing it, and he only cares about Lindsey. He's Lindsey first, not America first. Everything's wrong.
Yeah.
Our employees are telling us what we're going to do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Our
we are the
people in
boss.
D.C., none of them have a servant's heart anymore. I've served people all my life. I've served customers in our business for 40 years, and we're darn good at it. We work for the customer. That's our employer. The owner's God, and we'll bring that same servant attitude into D.C.
How refreshing. Where can people volunteer, donate, and learn more?
Go to Lynch for Senate, spelled out F-O-R, lynchforsenate.com. And how do you help? Here's how. Number one, we win this on our knees. It's spiritual warfare. You know that, Ann. We got to pray for us and our campaign team. And I pray for the voter out there to really ask themselves and look at their heart. Do we like somebody stealing from us, helping the enemies of America that doesn't have the character to be in Congress, winning again? Why are we allowing that? It's our decision. We get to all vote. We need to take our cell phones and call our family members and friends and people we work with and tell them about Mark Lynch. Dispel the lies, go with what's true, and help me get in, and I'll serve you well. So it's up to the voters. It's time to do our due diligence and know who we're voting for. And we've got the greatest opportunity to bring a gift to America on its 250th anniversary by removing a traitor out of the U.S. Senate in South Carolina.
I agree. Mark Lynch, it's been an honor to have you on today. Thank you so much for your time, for your dedication. And folks, if you don't know, Mark put $5 million of he and his wife's hard-earned money into his own campaign. $5 million. That is somebody who is literally putting his money where his mouth is. And you don't see that too often. I can't remember the last time somebody really did, besides President Trump, put money, his own personal money into a campaign. So for that, we are very, very grateful for you stepping into the ring. You picked a tough state to battle, but Lindsey Graham kind of sells himself as to why he shouldn't be in the job in the first place. It's just whether or not we can reach enough people to help them be educated as to the differences of what the quality of character means to the man in the job serving the public. Lindsey's not a servant; he's a taker. You have a public servant's heart, and that's the difference. And that's what Carolina could be best. They could take away, if they could just take one thing away from this interview, it's that you have a servant's heart and that you are there to serve. As like you said, you've been doing it for over 40 years in your business. So fantastic.
Well, thank you, Ann. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Mark, we will keep an eye on your race. It's coming up June 9th, everybody. If you're in South Carolina, please make sure you share this on all your Facebook pages, across your LinkedIn, if you're out there, on True Social, X. Pickaxe, we're streaming on Pickaxe as well, Rumble, YouTube. Please, by all means, and of course, X is carrying this live. Get this out far and wide and tell your friends in South Carolina to get out on June 9th and vote for Mark Lynch. Mark, thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you. God bless, Ann.
God bless you. Well, South Carolina, as I've said before, this race is bigger than one Senate seat. This is your test. This is the test of whether or not you guys, the voters in South Carolina, still control your government, or whether consultants, donors, these party guys, and the Washington cartel get to decide who represents you. Clearly, we know that Graham is really got the bit in the mouth because he doesn't want to lose the gravy train. But for years, we Americans, and it's not just us, the folks in South Carolina, the Americans have actually watched politicians campaign like conservatives at home Yep. When they get back to D.C., what happens? The swamp swallows them up, and they vote for more spending, more foreign entanglements, more open voter chaos, more surveillance, more excuses, and basically a lot more betrayal. Mark Lynch is making the case that South Carolina deserves a senator who understands payroll, debt, faith, family, work, addiction recovery, border security, constitutional rights, and the cost of Washington's failures. Your primary, South Carolina, is June 9th. That means there's no time to sit back and complain. Register to vote, show up to vote, volunteer, share this interview, and ask hard questions. Study the voting records, look at what Lindsey Graham has done, and then demand answers from Lady Graham, because the swamp counts on low turnout and the establishment counts on total confusion, which is why Fox News is running ads like crazy for Lindsey Graham. Career politicians count on voters forgetting the truth. So don't forget. Please don't forget. Get up and get out June 9th and vote for Mark Lynch. I'm Ann Vandersteel. This has been Steel News Live. You guys, please stay vigilant, stay faithful, and stay in the fight. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and we'll catch you again next time here on Steel News.